our subject this morning, the point of departure, let's say, is standing, which is a rich subject, I think. If you think about it, we don't actually just stand still all that often. Daily life doesn't usually demand that from us. Usually we're transitioning through standing. We stand up, maybe we pause for a moment, we stand in line sometimes, but even when we stand in line, there's some movement involved. So in general, in the Feldenkrais method anyway, where we look through the lens of movement. So standing is a position, and we're going to be looking at both the position and then what we do from there, and how we can increase the comfort in standing, and also our ability to move dynamically in that situation, which then spreads out to all different kinds of activities. Standing is a particular interest of mine because as a teenager, I really couldn't stand for very long. And I had a number of dramatic episodes where I passed out. The best one being when I was a bridesmaid in my cousin's wedding in the front of a big church. And one of the grooms picked me up and carried me out. I tell you, it was just like a fabulous experience for a 14-year-old girl. The whole thing, to be swooped away like that, everybody's eyes on me. Wow. But I was really insecure about standing, and tried to obviously to avoid it. And it was a combination of, it turns out, nobody knew it at the time, that that's a common syndrome that teenagers can have sometimes, but I also locked my knees and had just a really poor organization in standing, which is something that I didn't understand and nobody understood until I started to engage with the Feldenkrais method, and became just much more comfortable. And I'll maybe, while you're resting, I'll tell you another story there. So let's start in standing. Everybody stand on your 2 feet and just let your arms down by your side. And rather than doing a scan lying down, let's just start with a scan in standing. So the first thing that's interesting is, where did you choose to put your feet? So some people have their feet quite wide, some people have them quite narrow. Without looking at your feet for a moment, just sense where they are and see if you can sense the distance between them, and also where are your toes pointing. Often we'll have one foot that's a little more turned out than the other one. And then look down at your feet and see if your feet are where you thought they were. Were you accurate about how far apart or how they were pointing? And then just gently shift your weight from one foot to the other. And just see today the comfort you have on one side, the comfort you have on the other side. Are you somehow feel more supported on one foot than the other? Stop in the middle again. Stop in the middle again. And just scan yourself standing there. If you had to stand like this for 10 minutes, where do you think you'd start to get tired? Can you have a hint of that already? Maybe your knees, ankles, shoulders, or your neck. maybe you have had a particular injury on one side or the other side that starts to speak to you here. Now, most of us have had somebody say to us at some point in our life, stand up straight. So if somebody said to you right now, stand up straight, what would you do? Go in and out of that a few times. So somebody, you know, your long dead grandparent says, stand up straight. And you, what do you do? And then let it go. What is this kind of, old or unconscious idea about standing up straight? We all have multiple ideas about these things, some from our past, some from things we've learned. And then just leave that. And last thing, just notice, where is your weight when you're standing? What would you say? What proportion is on your heels and what proportion is more forward? Now, take your, what we'll do, yeah, take your right hand and put it on the front of your right thigh and slowly slide your hand down towards the floor. Slide down and see how comfortable that is, how far you can go before you start to feel some kind of strain. And do the same thing with the left hand. Just be curious if there's a difference between the left hand and the right hand. It's which one, if you wanted to be repeating it, would you use? And now take both hands towards the floor as if you wanted to touch the floor. And now do this very slowly and really observe in yourself, what is the range that's comfortable and where do you start to feel the beginning of strain? Really check where that is. Doesn't mean maybe it's such a light strain that you couldn't continue, but just notice, where do you feel strain and at what point? Your hands are just kind of hanging there, you're bringing them down. And also, does one arm hang a little closer to the floor than the other as you go down like this? Stand up again. And now just slide your right hand down the front of your thigh to just an area below your knee. Do that once or twice, just the right side, right in the front, the area below your knee. And then leave your hand there, either on your knee or below your knee, wherever you're comfortable, and stay there now. And now in this position, a few times, look to the left. And as you look to the left, bring your right ear a little bit towards the floor. So your left arm, let your left arm just hang. Actually, don't look yet. Let's observe the left arm. Slide your right arm a few times down your leg. And what's happening with your left arm? Let your left arm hang and see if some of you were really holding your left shoulder. Just you slide the right hand, just let the left arm hang and see if there's anything that you're holding in your neck and your shoulder that you don't need to be. You're sliding your right hand down the front of your leg as if you wanted to reach your foot with your right hand, and you let your left arm hang, your shoulder hang. Neck is free. That's it. Okay, now keep your left arm hanging like that. Stop your right hand below your knee or on your knee. And now look to the left and bring your right ear just a little bit towards the floor as you do that. Do that a few times. So your right hand now stays in the same place. You stay leaned over. Your right hand is below your knee in the front, and it's glued there now. And you just look to your left and bring your right ear towards the floor and see what happens in your back as you do that. And then you come out of that. You keep your right hand there all the time. And then again, you turn your head and bring the right ear towards the floor. So you'll bring your head a little bit away from the floor and towards the floor each time you turn. Stand up again and take a rest. Now, in these standing movements, some of them are going to be unusual and you may need to rest sooner. I'll repeat the directions until you get oriented, but it could be that you do it 2 or 3 times, you stop, and then you do it again. Okay, slide your right hand again to that same place. Could be above the knee, could be on the knee, could be below the knee, where you're going to just leave it in the front of your leg. You put your hand is now glued there. You let your left arm hang. And now turn your head to look to the right. And the same thing, as you look to the right, just lower your left ear a little bit towards the floor. What happens in your back? What happens with your pelvis? Is your pelvis doing anything? If you increase the movement in your head, maybe it will inspire your pelvis to get involved. Take your head, your ear a little bit more towards the floor and then a little bit away from the floor and see what kind of response you get from your back and from your pelvis. It's an unusual position to feel your back moving. Stand up again. Stand up and rest in standing. See, resting is a relative thing. Now, normally we don't think of resting in standing, but if you've been leaning over, doing something weird with your head in a not totally comfortable position, standing up is kind of a rest, isn't it? Now, put your left leg backwards and your right leg in front. And a few times slide your right hand down the front of your right leg in this position. Just easily slide it down and really feel the contact of your hand with your leg. So feel your hand softening. Please just completely get rid of the idea of touching the floor. You don't care about touching the floor. You don't care about touching your foot. It's just the process. You slide the hand, feel that your right hand softens and contours to meet your leg as you go down. And now experiment. What do you do with your head? And is there a way of moving your head that makes it easier to bring the leg down like that? So let's start by look backwards between your legs as if you wanted to see what was behind you. Let your head hang and look between the legs as you go down. Does that help you slide that right arm? Now, the next time, look forward as you slide that right arm down. Look forward as if somebody was talking to you and you wanted to see them there. What happens when you do that? What happens with your back and your pelvis? Can your belly come forward a little? Now take your right ear towards the floor like we did a moment ago, lowering your right ear towards the floor as you go. Does your arm get longer when you do that? And then once, just slide the arm and see what you do spontaneously with your head. What do you think is the easiest way with all those variations where your arm gets longer? Now stand for a moment with your two legs parallel and just have a rest in standing. You know, if you sell this to yourself, you say, now I'm having a rest. This is a rest now, right here. My arms are hanging. I'm breathing nicely. My skeleton is supporting me. And then go ahead and have a rest on the floor. Lie on your back. Do you think that if you just woke up right now and you were asked, well, before you fell asleep, were you working sliding on your right leg or your left leg? Would there be some sign of that right now? Is there some difference in how the two legs are resting on the floor? Of course, if we're going to be strict, we would say we don't know for sure because you didn't start lying on your back, but still, we can speculate. How are your shoulders resting at this point in the process? Notice how your breathing settles as you lie on your back, the rhythm of the breath, the volume of the breath. Now, now go ahead and roll over and lie on your left side and put your right leg in front of your left. And if you have, you can lie with your head on your arm, or you could put it on a towel or a flat cushion would be fine. Now, straighten your right leg a little bit in front of you. Now, I use straightening there as a verb. It doesn't mean make your right leg straight. It just means put it a little bit more in front of you. See if you can put the foot out a little more in front of you. The knee can be bent just where it's comfortable. And you'll adjust it as I tell you what we're going to do here. And then put your right hand on your right leg and begin slowly to slide your right hand along your leg as if you wanted to reach your foot. But most of you have had some Feldenkrais experience, so you know that we never are going to say that whenever you say, oh, reach to your foot right now. No, you're in a process and that's the direction. Again, soften your hand. It's actually very sensory rich. You have the sensation of your hand touching your leg, and you have the sensation of the leg being touched. See if that softening of your hand can create an atmosphere for doing this movement slowly, easily, and just see what can you do with the rest of yourself so that that hand could slide a little more comfortably. So one thing is you might, now that you know what you're doing, you might adjust the position of your leg a little bit. And then the next thing is what could help your arm? So what's the sensation that stops you from moving? Where do you feel that you get the message that's far enough? And then see when you get there, what about your head? Could you roll your head a little bit more? Could your shoulder and head move together forward a little more? Begin to move your shoulder and head backwards more as you slide the hand towards your pelvis. Slide your hand all the way back to your pelvis and let your nose face towards the ceiling, and then slide forward. Really, this is not about stretching at the end. It's you stay all the time in an easy zone, because that's the way our system will accept new options, not when you're forcing things. So, can you do this movement as if you were going to do it for a long time? Let your head really take support from the floor as you do that. And then let that go and stop for a moment and rest in this position or some similar position where it's really restful. Put your leg again in front of you. Just find where it's comfortable. Okay, let me reiterate the position. You're lying on your left side, and you have your right leg as much in front of you as you're comfortable. And you can put the left leg wherever you like it. So it's like a little bit of a scissor position with the legs. The left leg is in front of you. For most people, it's pointing a little downwards. And the right leg is wherever you want to have it to feel balanced. Now, slide your right arm. You're lying on your left side, and your right leg is in front, your left leg is behind. Right leg is in front, left leg is behind. And now slide your arm as far as it's comfortable down your top leg, your right leg, and stop there. Maybe it's just below the knee where it was when you were standing. That's a good spot, or the knee. Now this time, keep your arms straight and move your arm in a big arc as if you wanted to put it on the floor behind you. So your arm makes an arc towards the floor behind you, and then you bring it back to the starting position. And let your head move with your arm. So your nose will point a little towards the floor in front, and then your nose will point towards the ceiling. So your arm and your head will roll. Make a nice arc. Avoid going into an area where you feel any pulling or stretching. See if you can find a way of doing this that's really enjoyable. Now, your head rolls, means your shoulder is moving. Is it necessary to fix your pelvis? I see a lot of you like you've just stabilized the pelvis. Could the pelvis make at least a micro movement to join in with that? What would your pelvis do when your arm went backwards? Maybe you could just slide the leg a tiny bit with the movement of the arm and the head. What if Just a little bit. The pelvis could move backwards too. That's better. I can see that making sense with some of you. It could be a quarter of an inch. It's just you bring the pelvis into the action. Nice, nice. Okay. Rest for a moment in some version of lying on your side there. Take your arm out to the side again. Bring your right leg in front, your left leg behind. I see some of you with your right leg behind. Just double check if you're really where you want to be. The right leg is the closer to the ceiling and it's in front. Okay. Now, arm towards the ceiling, and then you again start to do this nice flowing arc with your arm. So the hand goes towards the floor in front of you, and then the back of the hand goes towards the floor behind you. And you can let that right leg move just a little bit to support that. And you land on the knee, somewhere near the knee, and you go back again. Now, find a zone that you can repeat this a few times, not to the end of your range, somewhere, 3/4, a half of the range, and begin to move your eyes in the opposite direction. So when you follow your right hand, your eyes look the other way. Your head can continue to follow your arm. So pick something you're going to look at. As your arm arcs behind you, why not look at your left hand? And when your arm arcs in front of you, you want to look towards the ceiling or even a little bit behind you. So this is tricky because you want to still have that nice support your head has on the floor. Breathing. Sometimes it's easier if you make the movement slower. Very nice. Now, put your hand on your pelvis, your right hand on your pelvis, and just a few times slide your arm down your leg toward your foot and just see how that's developing. Is that any smoother, any more comfortable for you? And once you've checked that and you've really felt that, the movement of taking the hand down towards the ankle, then roll on your back and rest. And check now the balance between the two sides, the way that you land on the floor. And then go ahead and stand up again. And so first of all, you just stand and get an impression of yourself standing. See if there's anything any of what happened on the floor, does that somehow transfer into the standing position? What kind of difference do you notice between the two sides now? The way the right arm hangs and the way the left arm hangs, does one seem to hang a little further than the other? I see a lot of you with your right arm a little longer than your left at the moment. Now go ahead and just slide your right arm down the front of your right leg and see how that's coming along. Is the floor getting any closer? Just let the left arm hang there. And then you can take both, just let both arms hang and reach the two arms down towards the floor. Just be curious about any differences you observe between the two sides. Of course, it could have been your left arm that went more easily to begin with. So in that case, maybe you would just simply feel more even. Did the floor get any closer by now? Stand up again. And put your left foot back. That's your right foot, your left foot back, right foot forward, and slide your right hand down the front of the right leg. And again, you just notice if the floor has gotten any closer, if the foot has gotten any closer. Now, put your left hand on your left buttocks and just slide your left hand a little bit down the back of your left leg. And as you do that, let your head hang backwards, just an amount that's comfortable. And now alternate, take your left hand sliding down towards the back of the knee, and then your right hand sliding towards the front of the knee. So you're just going to go back and forth like that. Don't go to the end of your range. Just don't go below the knee on either side, okay? Just figure out how to make this smooth and comfortable. So your head is going to really move through space. Your head comes forward, and then your head goes backwards. See if you can not so much take your head to the left as to really take it backwards as you slide that left arm. That's what's going to take some adjustment. What can your pelvis do to support this? See if you can feel a sense of the front of you opening, the distance between your sternum and your pubic bone shortening and lengthening. Think about the sternum, the top of your rib cage, and think about how that's moving away from your pelvis and towards your pelvis. See if that can support that movement of the hand there. See if your belly can move forwards and backwards. Leave that and have a rest standing. And just stand for a moment there on the two legs and see how you're standing. And then one more time before we go to work with the other leg, slide your right hand down the front there and just see how close your right arm goes down towards the floor. Just see if the floor has gotten any closer, or where is it that you would start to feel some strain now? And is that shifted in some way? And just stand for a moment. Stand for a moment. See, how supported do you feel in standing? And then slide your left arm down the front of your left leg and just see where do you start with the left side? The other arm now, the other arm down the other leg. Surely this side has also been learning from what we've been doing, because we're not neurologically cut in half. Just see what your first impression is there. And then go ahead and have a rest on your back. Just really take support from the floor, let your breathing settle. And then come to stand again. Little refresher on the back to standing. And if you get tired, you can always take a rest in sitting or lying down when you need to. People have different tolerances for working in standing, and you need to just respect. Always in the method, it's better to be working with fresh attention. So sometimes if you just pause when you think of pausing, you won't need as long a rest if you give yourself that before it's really necessary. Okay, now put your left leg forward and your right leg behind. And begin to slide your left arm down the front of your left leg. Just go a few times. Be curious. When do you start to feel something like strain, and where do you feel it? Some people will feel it in their upper back or their neck. Some people feel it in the low back, sacrum area. Some people can feel it in their knees. What do you notice? Where does something start to say? It's not that you have to stop there, it's that you already start to feel something not as smooth. Now, stop with your hand. You decide. It could be above your knee, on your knee, below your knee, just where you're comfortable. You stop with your hand there. And now, a few times, look to your right and just lower your right ear a little as you do that. Lower it towards the floor. Your hand is glued to your leg now. Your hand is glued to your leg. So the movement's going to have to happen somewhere else. Let your back get involved. It's a strange thing. It's a strange thing to be doing. And you can also adjust how far your legs are apart, how far the left leg is in front of the other one. You can experiment a little, but your left arm is not sliding. It stays where it is, so that you really need to do something with your trunk rather than with your arm and your shoulder. stand up and have a little break in standing. And when you're ready, put your left arm in the same position. You step back with the right leg. The left leg is forward. You put your hand somewhere near the knee. It's glued there. And now look to the left. Look to the left and bring your right ear towards the floor as you look to the left. Now, see, is your pelvis helping you at all? Or are you just keeping your back fixed? So you want to see how could your pelvis get involved? Okay, this is not totally making sense. Let's try something else. Put both hands on your knee, both hands on the knee there. And now look at the wall in front of you, and then look at the wall behind you. Now you're going to have to do something with your pelvis, I think. See if your coccyx doesn't point a little up and a little down. Can you facilitate that? Can you allow that to happen? The middle of your back starts moving. You're going to feel an arching in your back and the belly coming forward, back and forth. Don't push it. See if the movement itself can call your pelvis. Maybe you need to bend your knees a tiny bit more so your pelvis can move more. That's looking better. That's looking better. Stand up for a moment and rest. Now, again, put your left leg forward and slide that left arm down. You're going to find a place, where you're going to glue the hand. And let's go back to the turning of the head now. Turn your head to look to the right. And as you do that, the left ear goes down towards the floor, and see if you can involve now your whole back and pelvis in that movement. So that you feel your coccyx will point a little bit towards the floor and a little bit away from the floor. It could be a 1/4 of an inch that the pelvis moves. That's looking better. Stand up again. Stand up again. And now this time, without sticking your arm, you slide your arm down that forward left leg. Your right ear goes towards the floor, and you turn and look to the right. You coordinate all those things together: the hand, the looking to the side, the belly going forward as you look to the side, and the ear goes towards the floor, and then come up again. Just go down and up. So you feel your sitting bones point towards the wall behind you as you do that. Your belly comes forward. No need to go as far as you can. Now look the other way, same arm, but turn the other ear towards the floor. See if your pelvis can be involved. Nice. Okay. Stand and rest on your 2 legs. See, resting is all relative to what you've been doing, of course, right? So if you just ran a marathon and you stood like this would be quite a rest, right? So I think it's nice to sometimes feel that just standing is a rest. Now, again, put your left leg forward, right leg behind. And just shift your weight from the back foot to the front foot a few times. So your knees are soft. They don't have to bend a lot, but they need to bend. They need to be ready to adjust. See if you shift your weight and you're breathing comfortably. Okay, now put both hands in front of your hip joints there and slowly slide both hands down. One hand slides on the front leg and one slides on the back leg. See how your pelvis supports that. Now put your your right hand on your left leg and slide your right hand down the front of your left leg. How do you shift your weight now? How can your pelvis get involved? Shift your weight really onto one foot and on the other foot, exaggerated now. When would you shift to the back leg and when would you shift to the front leg? Stand for a moment and rest in standing. And then go ahead and lie on your back for a moment. Really enjoy that moment of coming to the floor. Just really enjoy taking that support, because each time you leave another position and you lie on your back like that, it can be a kind of a reset where the muscular engagement that you had going on in, for example, the standing position, that you can let that go and just refresh yourself. If we can really quickly adjust to lying on the floor, you don't need to rest that long, in fact. It's an interesting thing which parts of ourselves adjust quickly and which take more time. Often the neck takes more time. And often there's kind of layers we have to go through in the neck. But everybody can have their individual stories, their individual histories and injuries where certain areas are immediately able to adjust to the support from the floor, and other areas don't feel as safe and take more time. Roll your head a few times left and right in this position. And as you do that, just really feel that you can soften your face, your jaw, and that your head can really rest on the floor. And then come to stand again. Put your left leg in front again. And now put your right hand on the back of your right leg. And a few times slide your right hand a little bit down the back of your right leg and let your head go backwards as you do that. So your head is going to help your right arm get a little longer. Try not to shift so much to the side as really backwards. So backwards means your chin will come away from your chest and your belly will go forward. It may not feel totally safe to begin with, and so then make it small. Just make it small. And then begin to alternate. First, your left, you take your left arm, slide it down the front of your leg. Don't go any further than your knee. And then you slide your right arm down the back of your leg, letting the back of your head go backwards. And see if you can find a nice alternation here. Let's be particularly interested in the belly, how your belly moves forward and backward. Can you exaggerate that? What if you try to start the movement with your belly? Push your belly forward as you take your head back, and then suck your belly in as your arm goes forward. Initiate it with the abdomen. Don't be ambitious. Just take the arms, one to the knee and one to the other. The backwards one, you may just end up in the middle of the thigh. Don't worry about it. Okay, that's good. Now initiate the movement by shifting the weight from one foot to the other, not with the abdomen. Really shift your weight, exaggerate the shifting of the weight. And now initiate the movement by the movement of the pelvis. Point your coccyx backwards and then forwards. Again, it doesn't have to be a big movement. It can be a small movement. Nice. And now stand on your two legs and rest for a moment. I hope that after doing this exploration together, that some of you will find moments during your day to rest in standing. And just by looking for how standing is restful, you may shift your organization, how standing can be restful. Now, one more time, put your left leg forward and just slide your left arm down the front of the left leg and just see how that developed over the course of these different experiments. Did the floor get any closer? Is it a little more pleasurable? Now, take your legs parallel and just observe now how your arms are hanging, the length of the two arms. Slide your right arm again down the front. Actually, why don't you put your left leg back and slide your right arm down the front and just see, was your right arm informed at all by what you did with the left? And then have your legs parallel and take both hands down the front of your legs. And just see what kind of, how do you put that together now? Is there some part of yourself that is involved that wasn't before? Is there something that's highlighted? And then a few times, just reach the floor as if you needed to pick something up, first with one hand and then with the other hand, and reach around yourself. A little bit out to the right, a little bit out to the left, just taking the territory. This is one of the things that as we age, sometimes gets lost, is that ability to lean over and do things with our feet, get to the floor. And we want to keep this. We want this as part of our self-image, that the floor is a safe place. Okay, and now stand again one more time and just see how everything that we've done may have informed you in standing. How you're breathing, the kind of support you feel. How do you sense the space around you? Good. Okay, so walk around a little and see how you move it. You're moving. You should have a nice fluidity in your walking right now after all the shifting of the weight we did in different ways. Walk a little bit backwards too. Just enjoy how you come onto each leg.